The inflation rate slowed slightly in April, going up by 2.7%. BNN Bloomberg's Paul Bagnell is standing by with more for us. Good morning to you, Paul. So walk us through the numbers and what they mean.
Well, the numbers were called, quote, very good news by a senior economist we spoke to here at BNN Bloomberg as soon as the numbers landed on the screens. He was Sal Guadieri, senior economist at Bank of Montreal. And just to paraphrase it, as you have, headline inflation came in at 2.7%. That was down from 2.9% in March. This is the annual pace of inflation. And so-called core inflation came in at 2.6%. That was down from 2.8% earlier, and it was also less than economists had forecast. So the tone of the inflation release was positive. In other words, more evidence that inflation is coming down, and particularly core inflation, which excludes volatile items, which are difficult to predict. So Sal Guadieri, the economist at Bank of Montreal, thought that this release would give the Bank of Canada sufficient ammunition to lower its benchmark interest rate on the 5th of June. Whether the bank does so or not is still an open question, but certainly the bank got the kind of numbers it wanted to see today in order to reduce rates on June the 5th. On
June the 5th. And now that we know that date, Paul, a lot of people will be wondering, okay, if there's going to be a cut, by how much?
There is very broad agreement that a cut, if it arrives on June the 5th, would be 25 basis points in the language of economists. That's 1/4 of a percentage point. So the rate, the Bank of Canada rate, if the Bank of Canada cuts on June the 5th, would go to 4.75% from the current 5%. And then the knock-on effect is that you would expect the prime rates at the big Canadian banks to drop by 1/4 of a percentage point as well. That flows through to things like variable rate mortgages, perhaps most significantly. It would also translate through to things like lines of credit and auto loans as well. And it would not translate through to other things like fixed rate mortgages or credit card rates, for instance. But many lending products would be about 1/4 of a percentage point less expensive after a Bank of Canada rate cut.
Okay. Paul Bagnell for us. Paul, thank you for that. Appreciate your time on this breaking news this morning.